everyone, and welcome to The Safe Room, a survival horror game podcast. I'm Grace, and with me is Rose.
Please call me Big Dick.
I don't think that's a name you could take upon yourself. I think you have to be given. It's like Boss and Big Boss, you know?
Please give me 50,000 yen.
We played the Silver Case this time.
Yes.
What fucking year did this came out? Clearly, I did a lot of research.
98? 99? Let me see. It was a PS1 game. So,
Yeah, PS1. 1999.
There we go.
Wow, this PlayStation cover art is sick.
It's pretty sick.
It's pretty cool. Yeah. I mean, before we kind of get, I guess, yeah, are you feeling, I messaged you earlier, but, I was kind of thinking we could do case by case just because a lot of them are sort of self-contained stories.
Yeah.
So, and then it was like, it's structured like a TV show. Really. In that it is like a police procedural that has like a big overarching narrative. And then in between that, there's a bunch of like cases that are, where you get some character stuff, or maybe you get like a clue or two, like hints towards the bigger thing. But it's, so I think we could kind of do big, broad summary stuff and then kind of go case by case. But I don't know what you're feeling.
Yeah, we can summarize the big plot up top and then talk about it case by case, I think.
Yeah. Also, this is basically a visual novel. Mostly it's reading.
Yeah.
But there's some 3D environments that you walk through in first person and solve a little puzzle in, or mostly just walk around.
Yeah.
Go to a place, things like that. And there's also some like digital interface stuff where you like read emails or go into chat rooms and things like that. But that's basically it, I think, in terms of how it plays. But yeah, what are some do you have general thoughts, sort of general observations before we get into the summary here?
No, I enjoyed it. I wish it was more horror than it is.
I think this is not a horror game, arguably. Maybe like the first couple chapters of it are.
Yeah.
But
there are scary parts.
Yeah.
But it kind of steers away from that.
Yeah, it's much more, it's kind of very science fiction heavy noir, I would say.
Yeah.
Kind of in configuration and tone by the end.
Yeah. Though the setup for 25th Ward is such that it made me really want to play it.
Yeah. No, I'm interested.
So
I'm interested in all these video games in the past, whatever this is called.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the basic thing that I have is this is like the most TV video game I've ever played. Yeah. Like, just in terms of like where like each of the like, I think are there 3 or is it 4 cases that are like in between sort of big plot stuff? Where it's like each of them has like a social issue that they're about, that they're sort of centered around something. And then there's, the big overarching plot that's about like a serial killer, right? And like the origins of the serial killer. And then also like gets into the pasts of the central characters, you know, and like what's going on with them. I'm like, yeah, this is just bones. You know, this is a lot of stuff like that. It's very much in that mode. And I think I actually did appreciate it very much on those terms. And it's also just cool to look at.
Yes.
And I was really thinking about, because we historically on the show, we've been such evangelists for cutscenes, or maybe not evangelists for cutscenes, but we're just like, oh, hey, you know what? Cutscenes can be cool. And this was a game that was making me wonder, like, should games ever have cutscenes? Do you need them? Because, I mean, there are cutscenes in this game. It's a little unfair. But I just mean that, like, there's such a... Because it's so stripped down and it is so consciously not trying to imitate cinema, you know, because the most you get at any one time is, like, less than a minute of full motion video. And then you get... Most often it's, like, single screens, right? Like, single images. And it can pull so much out of that. And do so much interesting stuff with it because it's so kind of pared back. That I was like, yeah, like chasing cinema at all is a mistake. We should never do it. And I think that's, you know, I don't actually think that necessarily. I think there's actually really interesting ways that games can interface with sort of the cinematic mode. But it does really evidence, like, this is so much more unique and memorable than like any cinematic AAA game that has come out in the last 10 years. You know? In terms of the way you interface it and the way you look at it, which is like what visual media is.
I will say that anytime that there's video, it's the best thing ever.
Oh, and it's good. That's also the thing, is that you could concentrate, you know, you could make those 10 minutes of cutscenes very cool. You know?
Yeah, the way that this game mixes not FMV. The way that this game mixes animation and
there is some live action stuff in it.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. The way that
right.
it mixes animation and like real shots is like sick as hell.
It's super cool. All right, well, should we get into it? I feel like this is going to be a difficult as hell game to summarize, just because it is retconning itself constantly. Incessantly.
Sure.
I think it's funny that the synopsis is like very brief on Wikipedia. There's usually like a full thing, but whoever did this was like, we can't. Yeah, I'm trying to think where we should start. So basically, you play as a character you could name. But I think is called Akira in other games, or maybe side material. And you're like you're a police officer in like a SWAT team, basically. And in the first little chapter, you meet this guy, whose name all of a sudden I'm forgetting. But Kusabi.
Yeah.
And you're like finding out that there's like sort of this, I don't know, like infectious crime thing hitting the city, the 24 wards, which is, I guess, it's kind of ambiguous about this. Like, I guess Tokyo kind of, but it doesn't really specify in terms of like, it is set in Japan. But otherwise is kind of like, you know, and it's also in 1999, but it's like an alternate 1999. It's clearly not the same world that we live in. And basically you find out that this guy, Kamui, I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, is like the serial killer who was involved in a bunch of cases like a few years prior, but that got loose and started killing people. You then discover that it was actually his lover and partner, Ayami, who murdered other women that he was involved with after she found out he was carrying his child, and then was about to kill herself, but doesn't, as the other children, as the three children, Takami's children that he had with the other women, beg her not to kill their brother, and then she's arrested. You also follow Tokio Morishima, who's a freelance reporter and journalist who is requested by a shadowy, mysterious figure to investigate Kamue and told by other shadowy, mysterious figures not to do that. The middle portion of the game is you doing a case as Akira, and then getting Tokio like investigating the same case simultaneously alongside. So you kind of get two perspectives on the central events of the game, and often stuff that isn't explained in one half is explained in the other. Things like that.
Yeah.
It turns out that Kamui is a product of the there's kind of three key factions in the city: a tech faction, the frontier faction or conservative faction, which is like an environmentalist faction, and the civic faction that are all vying for power in the city. And the frontier faction developed, I might have some of this, the exact information on this wrong, but basically they developed a program that like kidnapped kids and put them in this secret underground facility where they trained them to be killers. And that's like the first, well, and then Kamue is like this figure who the killers can then take on to like do murder against state officials to like restructure power, right? Mm-hmm. And you, Akira and Tokio are both, were both kids in this faction or in this group. Ayami is also one of these kids. There's a couple other women who are like the women's side of this, like the same program. And God, a bunch of other shit happens. You make your way into like the center of the city with the help of Kusabi, who then like basically introduces you to the guy who is like programming the city and in charge of programming the city, who you then kill and then take the position of Kamue and like also theoretically like free other people from like being controlled by this person. Kusabe was also involved in the original case of Kamue and what happened. He tells one version of the story at the very end of the game and then tells another version of it later. It's like funny because he like tells you, well, he's like, this is what the real story of Kamue. And then he like goes and then in like 5 minutes later, he's like, okay, it's been like 3 years in-game time. Let me tell you the real story. What actually happened? It's like, bro, you told me the prior story. Like, you could have just... Why couldn't you tell me the truth earlier? Anyway, and it turns out that he... Kamui was like an immortal being who had silver eyes. And all the sort of businessmen and like government officials were fighting over the immortality. And that like the mayor who was in charge of the city was like gouged out one of his eyes and put one of Kamui's eyes in. And they were also trying to breed this trait in the children that were kidnapped and were not successful in doing so. Yeah, Tokio is... And then you find out there's another Kamui killing people, and that's like the 25th Ward, which is the sequel. Tokio is on an airplane flying to go be in Flower, Sun, and Moon. Or Flower, Sun, and Rain, pardon me. And then has some memories about getting his eye gouged out as part of this program. And maybe he has his... I think his granddad is the mayor, so he has like one of his father's eyes, maybe. So maybe he's like an immortal being now. And that's the video game, I think? Do you think that's... Am I characterizing this fairly?
The plot mechanisms I don't care about, so I'm sorry.
You're like, I can't help you.
I can't help you. I simply just let it wash over me.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, this game is, solving murders and vibing out to music and just watching this game pull off formerly interesting things that it does with its format. And everything else I just kind of let it wash over me. So yeah.
No, I think
I
it's
do
legit.
think I do think the ending is sick with the little girl showing up.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because he can see like dead people who are dead, which is sick.
Yeah, he has all this we just sort of activate because there's a moment where both the characters meet each other in the first case, and that's sort of like he gets activated by that and then starts being able to hear people and stuff. Yeah, and also part of it is that I think I don't know that there's like a specific thing in my summary that I can point to that is like this, but there's a bunch of stuff in this game that's legitimately intended to be unclear, right? Mm-hmm. That it's like, what is exactly, and that's also the end thing is like, oh, there's another Kamui, like, how could that possibly happen, right? Like, we thought that door was closed and it's open again, and what occurred to make that happen, right? You know, and it's a cliffhanger, right? But it's like also, there's a lot of stuff like that in this where like, what motivate, and you know, there's like a part where like, because I talked about like the 3 factions, and there's one part where this character is like, actually the 3 factions are bullshit, and it's all just one organism. It's all one system that's like pitting different parts of itself against each other to like make it work, right? And so, you know, and I think there is legitimate like question of like, is that true, or is this other thing true, or like, what is, you know, how does all this stuff operate? Is like, it is intended to be confusing. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, should we talk about, should we just move forward, go case by case?
Sure.
So yeah, the first case is the one about Kamui and Ayami. Also, there's a character, one of the detectives, who's Kusabe's partner, Sumio Kodai, who is well, we'll get into his stuff later, but he falls in love with Ayume and has like weird sexual tension with her. Yeah.
This is sick. The part where you show up and people are just yelling words at you.
Oh yeah.
It's so sick. It's great.
Really cool. Yeah, I think I was like coming away from the first couple segments of this game being really excited. And I think part of it is it's just aesthetically so strong, right? Like it has such a great sense of pacing to it, and it's such a great sense of eeriness, right? And like has all these little aesthetic things like the typing sounds and the weird little square brackets that it puts over every letter that's like, you know, and so it looks almost like typing on MS-DOS machine, right? And you know, and so I think that stuff is like really effectively deployed, and it's also this is also the game at its most, I mean, not its most straightforward. I think a couple of the later cases are like really just like straight up murder mysteries, you know, but this has like the events of it feel, I don't know, it all feels driven and clear in a way that's cool. I also, I think there's an interesting thing. I don't know quite how to beat on this, and I think we can thread this throughout, but there's sort of a like question in the game about like what does it mean to be a criminal? What does it mean to be a detective? And like, this is like very like cop genre, cop fiction stuff, right? But like, what is the point where you become the other thing? Right. And there's a lot of stuff in this where it's like, you know, like there's a line where it's like, you need to have more criminal power than the target. Right. And so it's like literally like being a cop is just being a criminal in a better way than a criminal. Right. And so there's some interesting stuff with that. Yeah.
Yeah. This is the part where I wish it did more things with your character and being able to hear these voices as your squad just guns them down because they're evil.
Right.
Unquote, right? So that's kind of the direction I thought things were going. And it does some of that later, but not as much as I would have wanted. But it's great here.
Yeah, well, I think that's such a like that eeriness, and like that scene where Kusabi is like yelling at you to shoot the person, and you're like struggling, and Kira's like struggling to do it, and then the like thing, because after this, in that first chapter, there's a part where basically in chapter 1, there's a part where Akira's basically silent the whole time, and like other characters are commenting on the like he doesn't talk. And then it does sort of like drop that, like in later chapters there are like, you know, it doesn't list out what he says, but it does say like have characters responding to you as if you're talking, right? Breath of the Wild style. But I think that like that stuff where like where like the game is thinking about like you, Akira, as both the player character, as like a blank slate that you project on or whatever, right? But it also thinks that's kind of bullshit, and so does a lot of stuff to kind of like ground that, or like to explain why Akira is not talking. And I think that there's just like an interesting thing that's really strong in these first couple sections, where it's like you have to infer or sort of think through like who is this person based on like how he interfaces with the world and the like limited information that I get from like inhabiting him and sort of being addressed to as if I was him, right? Yeah. Is like a really interesting and I think pretty fruitful. This is a silent protagonist where it feels like actually like a really interesting aesthetic choice and doesn't feel sort of like, oh, this is what we have to do to like create immersion or whatever. Right.
How do you want to do it? Do you want to talk about Placebo 1 next?
I guess so.
That's how I played it.
Yeah, that's how I played it. I think that's probably the best way to play it, just because it would be easy for me to lose details of each individual case if I'd gone through both linearly.
We can kind of tackle it broadly, I guess, because like we don't have to keep going back and forth between them.
Yeah.
But after that, you basically.
Well, that's also one of the weird things is Tokio kind of has his own plot going on.
Yeah.
But then in terms of like all the events, all the plot happens in the Akira side, right? Yeah. And then Tokio like gets information on what occurred, and then also has his own plot going, right?
Yeah.
So it is like a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. So he's got a turtle.
Yeah.
And he's got a computer.
Mm-hmm.
And he likes to go to the same bar every time.
Yeah. Then he talks to that gay man at the bar.
And he's got an ex-wife. It's so funny when he was like, I'm gay at the end.
Yeah, it's so... Well, he says I'm a pervert first, and then it's like...
Yeah.
It's like a little... it's a little weird, because he's a like very cool... Or like, the game frames him positively. Like, he's a character that imparts a lot of wisdom and stuff, right? Like, it's not like a negative... But it is kind of weird where he's like, I'm a pervert. I like to get fucked in the ass at the end.
Yeah.
By men. And you're like, whoa, bro, like, it's all right. Like, you know, like, I don't think any of this stuff makes you perverted. Like, I think it's cool. We're fine.
The game is really 2 steps away from saying the F word.
Yeah, it really is. It's such
with all the slurs that are in this game. Like,
yeah, it does say the R slur a lot. Because this is a more recent localization, right?
I think this came out in 2016.
Yeah, I think that's right.
So, the 90s.
But yeah, so Tokio is Erica his ex-wife? I thought they just
Okay. No, it's his ex-wife.
And she's also a reporter. Well, so he was a reporter at like I don't know, like at some news outlet basically, and then quit for kind of I don't remember exactly, but like moral reasons, like he was sick of doing it, but then becomes like a paparazzi, like star chaser. You know, and then so it's sort of like he does this like kind of shady reporting work, right? And he's kind of a misanthrope, generally speaking, but he does love his turtle red.
Yeah,
as you mentioned. I like some of the Tokyo stuff in general terms, but this was the part of the game where I was the most consistently annoyed.
Yes. The same. It is specifically the decision to make it so you cannot skip certain things.
Yeah.
Like him pulling out the cigarettes or all of the establishing shots that are in his story.
Oh, well, because every time it goes to a new location, and this is true in the Akira side too, it like does a establishing shot of the environment in like 3D graphics, which is fine because in the Akira side, because there's a wider variety of locations on that side too.
You're getting a bunch of new plot in the Akira side also, right?
Yes, and then you have like you go to a new place and you get like a pretty substantial section of game before you go to the next place.
Whereas the Morishima side is more about his like mundane life as this like freelance reporter who is looking into stuff, and so he's waking up every day, he's smoking the cigarettes, he's going on his laptop, and he's reading the email, and he goes to a place, and then he goes back to his home, and he reads his email some more, and he goes to the bar, and he goes back to his place, and he smokes another cigarette. It's like that each time, to varying degrees of success depending on what plot is happening at a given time.
Right.
But it does make it not skipping certain elements very frustrating when you're trying to just get through the game.
Like, what fucking game was I thinking about? Because I was thinking about Twine games, playing that a little bit, where some Twine games really have, like, as a key element, like a loop. And the repetition of language can be important to, like, the kind of aesthetic stuff. And so I kind of get the intention that it's like you want this feeling of mundanity, you want sort of routine, you want to be doing sort of the same things over and over again. And that's also part of it is that he's, a lot of the thematic stuff with him is that he's at a crossroads in his life and is sort of trying to figure out like, what is my job actually? What do I want to do? How should I interface with this stuff? And what is like my relationship with Akira, whom I have this like weirdly antagonistic, but like kind of psychic almost relationship with. And like, I don't, know how to deal with that. And so there's a lot of like kind of him thinking about like, what should I do next? How should I go forward? Right. Whereas Akira is and also, Morishima is like a active and he speaks and he has an attitude and he's pissy and like, all this stuff. Right. Whereas Akira's, even though his side is so active, he doesn't say anything. Right. Yeah. And like, it's other characters that like speak for him and tell him what to do. And, and that contrast is, I think, really conscious. Right. But, so like, I understand what it's doing aesthetically and I don't even necessarily disagree with it, but it is like, bro, I have seen this exterior shot of his apartment complex so many times. And like, I understand that this is where he lives. Like, I get it. We're good.
You go to that apartment in the second episode.
Yeah.
Like, you know what it looks like.
Yeah, you can get an achievement for going in all the locations in that apartment complex, I
know that he smokes every time.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. So if in terms of the first case, if there's anything we need to talk about with Tokyo, because basically he has a contact with Kusabi who like tells him some stuff, but is also, generally, Kusabi's like the classic hard-boiled detective type guy. Like he's gruff and, like has a heart of gold, but is like real annoying and angry all the time, and like, you know, is like a hard living, hard drinking, hard smoking kind of guy.
He's
right?
the guy that calls you Big Dick.
He's the guy who calls you Big Dick.
I was waiting for it too. I was waiting for the line when all the plot gets revealed and he's like, I'm still calling you Big Dick.
Yeah. Oh, that's so funny. This is a gold mine of like out of context posts. I'm sure there's someone has done a Twitter account. It's like out of context silver case. Because you could do some of this stuff. But yeah.
No, the first episode for Morishima more or less just establishes what's happening with his character and what you're going to be doing.
When he does,
which is talking to Kasabi and not getting any information.
Yes, yeah. Well, and the guy, his like client, emailing him, be like, "Have you got any information?" And him being like, "No, shut up! I hate you."
Yeah.
Well, and then also so there's a section in the mall, because a part of the first section is like Akira chasing, like potential murder sites, right? And then getting killed, or not getting killed, but the person dying, and you know them sort of trying to figure out what happened in the aftermath, right? And so Morishima is also there, and the game kind of you don't get any direct description of what occurred there, right? And so it's sort of that thing in his like final sort of confrontation or sort of moment with the woman who was killed, right? Kind of structures some of the later stuff, and that's also one of the voices that he hears like throughout the game. But yeah,
it's so sick, by the way, just to have something very important happen to the character and not knowing what the fuck it was, and not having the character know what it was. Is great.
Yeah, no, it's really cool, and I think that's and that's true. It's true of so many of the characters. Like, I think a key thing in this game also is just like memory. And identity.
I literally went back and like I went back to the guide and was like, did I like not read something? No, that was intentional. It was great.
That happened to me in this game all the time, where I'm like, wait. Because there'll be like weird time skips too and things like that, right? Yeah, but it's cool.
Yeah, this is where we'll talk about episode 3 a lot. I feel like in that vein.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, so episode 2 is the apartment complex one, right?
So there's episode 0, which was lunatics, and then episode 1 is
Decoy Man.
Yeah, that's a shorter one though.
Is it?
I think so.
What's the one about? But that's like
that's the one with Ayame.
Yeah.
Sorry, in my mind, those were like lumped together.
They kind of are, because they do. Because you also that's the only time you don't. I mean, I guess it depends on how you play it, because you could play all the Akira stuff and then all the Morishima stuff in one go. But it's the one where you don't get there's no Morishima side to it. Lunatics is just the Akira side.
I don't have any additional thoughts on that one, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sumio's a dumbass, I guess.
Yeah, he's in love with this lady. I like that scene where they're like talking to each other, pointing guns at each other, you know?
It's cool.
But I don't know if I have thoughts about it. Yeah, it's cool. It's good. Okay, so case 2 Spectrum is about, so basically it's investigating like the apparent suicide of this guy who fell off into this apartment building where Morishima lives. And there's also this kid, Koichi, who's there, and it's a friend named Hikaru, who has disappeared, but that Koichi talks about all the time. And Akira's basically like befriending this kid, and trying to figure out like what exactly happened. And Morishima is like, bro, Akira's investigating this kid. That's fucked up. Something must be going on, right? And is trying to figure out why the heinous crimes unit is interested in this child, which is maybe a good question, generally speaking. But basically, it turns out you do some investigative stuff, but basically, it turns out that Hikaru and Koichi were both out-of-town kids, and so they were bullied all the time. And they kind of befriended each other and tried to protect each other. But Hikaru had like a really weak heart. And this guy who lived in the apartment complex was, I don't remember exactly, but disabled in some way that prevented him from like playing as a kid. And so then he sees them playing and is like, fuck them kids. And so chases after them and basically, doesn't physically attack him, but induces a heart attack in Hikaru. And he dies. And then Koichi is like, or Sugita is like, it's not worth living without my friend. And so he goes to the guy to try and get him to kill him, I think? Mm-hmm. Or there's some interpretive stuff happening here, like on the part of the detectives, right? Yeah. But they have some sort of altercation, and as a result, the man falls and dies from the window. And basically, the crimes unit decide to, like, not charge the kid or do anything, right? Mm-hmm. Because he's, like, a pure soul whose, like, intentions were good. They sort of believe, right? And I feel like the Morishima side's kind of similar, where he sort of figures out the basics of what occurred and then is like, that's fucked up, but I'm not going to do anything about it. I'm going to leave this kid alone.
The Morishima episode is so fucking annoying. It's the most annoyed I've been with this game.
Is that... when is the construction? Is that like episode 3?
Construction?
There's a part where, like, every time he wakes up and there's all the, like, jackhammer noises and stuff. And I was like, I cannot... Oh, good God. I can't handle this.
It was specifically, this kid is a killer. How can this kid be pure?
Right.
Why do you have empathy for this kid? Like, shut up, dude.
Yeah.
Get a life.
Well, yeah, I think he's like so... I think one of the things with him is that he's so insular and is thereby like very judgmental, right? And I think that's like there's that thing because like this is when he first starts to meet with Erica, right? And Erica like befriends the kid and is like, he's a good kid. And, and Morishima, who's like not talked to him, is like, he can't be a good kid.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that is like, Erica has the right of it, but it is annoying. I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. This is like it's almost like, it's just like a sad story in kind of a Yoko Taro way. Like this feels like a near side quest almost, right?
That's not fair. Shut up.
I don't mean to be mean. I'm not trying to be mean. It's not as like, it's more human than that. And it's not just like the weapon facts where it's like, here is a sad thing you should feel sad about because it's factually sad, I guess. Like you go, they like build this little fort underneath the trash can or whatever. You like go there.
Yeah.
With the car, like it's, you sort of get embodied in this whole stuff, right?
Man, that part where you investigate the second time and you get jump scared by a ghost.
Yeah.
That was sick.
It's cool.
And
I really
also the FMV at the end of this is fucking sick.
Which do you mean specifically? Because there's the one where they like share French fries, which is cute.
That one is cute, but the chase scene is great.
Oh yeah. I got you. Yeah.
Yeah, just very tense and just like, I don't know, uses the medium in a way that's like, here is a depiction of what happened, and it's a complete break from just reading the game. I thought it was,
yeah.
Here's like actual real people, actors, child actors and stuff, and it's like, damn, this is sick.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I also think the way that like you get that, just Koichi like talking about it, and there's sort of being this like, I think the multiple. I mean, this is a thing the game does over and over again, right? But there's like multiple layers on this single moment, that you get over and over again, and it's a cool. And I think that like the text, animation, FMV, live action stuff, right? Still images, sprites, 3D, there's some 3D animated cutscenes. Like every sort of piece of that feeds into this thing of like, we're looking at a thing and we're seeing all these shades of it, right? Mm-hmm. Which is cool. Okay, so the next case is also kind of convoluted. But this is basically where we find out about Sumio's like backstory.
Yeah.
Should I go spoiler forward with this, or how do we? Oh, I also like the bit in case 2. I have a note here about the bartender talking to him about whittling. And he's like, it's good to make stuff. And then Morishima's like making a little paper knife and is like, yeah, it's cool to make things. It's cool to do things with your hands.
Yeah.
And it's true. But yeah, basically, so case 2 centers around this corporation, or case 3, Parade, centers around this corporation, that in the 70s was building this housing project. That had like a factory associated with it, I think. And the factory was leaking chemicals into the river, which prompted this big protest movement. And then as the protest movement is kicking up higher and escalating, the chemicals in that the factory leaked started affecting people's minds. And so they try to murder the child of like one of this company's executives.
Yeah.
And these 3 boys are trying to protect her. And they brutally maim and disable the 3 kids. One is blinded, one is deafened, and the other is muted. And then rape, I believe. It's kind of it's more lightly implied, but definitely murder the girl. And then the 3 remaining kids, basically build out this program of revenge in order to completely destroy the corporation. And Sumio is one of these kids. I believe he's the one who's blind, right? Or I don't remember exactly, but he has to like fake a bunch of stuff in order to become a detective. Or maybe I don't remember what the whole deal is. I should have written some of this down.
I think he's deaf.
I think that's right, yeah. Because I was remembering that he has to like learn how to correct his voice.
That right? And he has to like read lips too.
Yeah, and then he bribes somebody to like fake his hearing test, basically.
Yeah.
At Police Academy. Yeah, that's right. And so anyway, so then basically all 3 of them, they do this like elaborate kidnapping plot for a really exorbitant sum that bankrupts the entire company, and they get the like CEO to agree to blow up the company's skyscraper offices and kill all the like not administrative, but like executive staff. So like the board of directors and, you know, the COO and those type of people, right? So not any of the workers, but like those guys. And then in the process, like each of the kids commits suicide. And the last one is Sumio's supposed to blow up the town that is like it stood empty for, you know, 20 years, right? Mm-hmm. But Kusabe basically convinces him not to do it. And they like watch the town burn together. And so the Akira side is mostly about like the kidnapping plot. And you only really get a sense of like what that whole backstory like towards the end. And then the Murashima side is basically like investigating the occurrences and sort of, and there's like, you know, this fairy tale stuff that crops up. He like emails somebody to try to get information about Kamui, but ends up like tracked into this like other story and figuring that out. Yeah. How do you feel about this one?
I was so confused.
Yeah, it's really well, especially at the end when like I like deduced that Sumio was involved, but like I didn't quite like I was like I'm not sure what's going on. And like it also I also said like Sumio's supposed to commit suicide. That's like an inference. The game doesn't really state that out loud. Right? In my memory anyway. Or does it?
It kind of does because the other two do.
Yeah.
And so Sumio kind of, you know, is part of this conspiracy and like carries out their goals and.
Yeah. Well, that's part of why he's in the.
Gonna be.
Yeah. No, yeah. I think that's right. I think it is an assumption you're supposed to make, but I just mean that there's a few things that the game does not outright state here, right? That are like plot elements. They make it a little confusing.
Yeah, it was one of those where like I don't know if you didn't like play the placebo.
Yeah.
At the like I don't know how you would understand what was happening here.
Well, and it's also like you there's a part where you go into like the basement of the company to get all this like files, and it tells the story of what happened in a linear way, but they're all like jumbled up in a weird direction.
Yeah.
And so unless you like have the map and know where each part is, or you want to like, I don't know, it just like it does deliberately work to like kind of make it a little bit more confusing, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
also, does he not destroy the village? I thought he did.
He does.
Okay.
He does. They watch it from the helicopter window or whatever.
And the girl, when the girl showed up, I was like, what?
Yeah. Well, and then she disappears, and you're like, what is? But it's like it's cool. Like once you know,
but it's cool. In hindsight, it's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's also like I don't know. It's. But yeah, this is also kind of what I mean when I talked about the police. Where like this is like about environmental catastrophe, right? And it's like this dramatic, like or melodramatic configuration of that stuff, right? And like this like paranoid conspiracy sort of element to it, right? But it's also just like straightforward. Like here is this social issue, and here are like our detectives grappling with this social issue, and there's also like all this because it's such a high profile case. Because part of it's like the heinous crimes unit is almost like a secret operations kind of deal, and so because it's such like a high profile case, like the main police force gets involved, and some of those people like do not like the heinous crimes unit and like the way they operate, and there's like internal like police tensions around that stuff, right? Also the ransom videos are cool. And like a lot of it's like they have to figure out like what do they want, you know, and so they have to do all this encoding. But I think it is actually Sumio who like identifies like here's how you look at the video to to figure out what they wanted. So it's like, oh, he just knew how to do that because
he just knew how to do it. Yeah,
it just made the video together.
Yeah.
Is this also the one where, I mean, it doesn't really matter because neither of these characters really matter, but Kiyoshi Morikawa and Chizuru Hakas. No, it's case number 2 where their relationship, like they have a weird romantic relationship. But it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
That
I don't know what
sucked. That stuff sucked. Because it's kind of just like, here's some workplace misogyny.
Yeah.
It's like, cool, I don't need that flavor in the game, thank you.
No, well then also she's like, she's an Ayame later. So she gets murdered.
Yeah.
Like, right? Like, she's not, it's just weird. I don't know. I don't have an opinion, I guess, but yeah, I agree.
It was just kind of trite.
Yeah.
Didn't really add anything to the
misogyny
game.
in the workplace. We'll get into that in the next case as well.
Also, we skipped over. The game has the sequence where I forget who it is. It might be Morikawa, but anyway. Mm-hmm. You get asked 100 questions.
Oh yeah. it is Morikawa, yeah.
Just out of nowhere, and it seemingly doesn't matter how well you do.
No, it doesn't. I don't think.
Very funny.
Most of them are like pop culture questions.
Pop culture stuff. Some of them are like facts from the game that, like, if you paid attention, you would know.
Yeah.
But then some of them is just like, what year did the PlayStation come out?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think I feel kind of. Oh, also this one, Parade aesthetically, episode 3 aesthetically, fucking sick.
This is one that's all black and white?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sick.
It's good. So cool. Looks great. I that sequence where you like climb around the hill because this is also like Sumio and I'm like Kodai and Sumio Kodai and Kusabi are staking a house out all through episode 2, and then episode 3 it blows up, and that's the instigating thing of like the kidnapping case and all this stuff, right?
Which I love their back and forth in the car. It's so funny.
Kusabi gets is in severe gambling debt that like doubles in between conversations.
Yep.
Yeah, that stuff is like really charming. But yeah, that part where you like climb around the hill and then the house blows up is really cool. Like, I think sometimes, like, there's some stuff in this game that is slow, and I sort of don't know why, but there's sometimes where, like, really pays off, where, like, that sequence where you, like, climb up the hill and you have to listen to Kodai, like, give you all the instructions.
Yeah.
So, like, is like, hey, like, you gotta turn left now, and I'm like, yeah, I know what direction the house is in. Shut up. And then you, like, get to the other side and it blows up, and you're like, whoa, shit. I was lulled into a false sense of security. It's good. Yeah. I was kind of disappointed when we flipped over to the Morishima side and it was not in black and white. I was like, damn. Too bad, I guess.
Which the black and white does a great job of blending the FMV with the animation.
Oh, yeah.
Especially that cutscene at the end in the factory where you like hand the suitcase off to the guy and he jumps into the fucking... He just jumps into the thing and kills himself.
And then it blows up. Yeah.
Yeah. It's great.
Oh, it's cool. Yeah. Well, yeah, it's such an unnerving, because also like his mouth is sewn shut, I think, right? Yeah. There's just that all gets explained, but it's such an unnerving image.
Yeah,
right?
It's cool.
Yeah, I don't know if I have anything more to say about this section. I do think that is like a thread in the game is like we've talked about this a little bit already, but like Morishima versus Akira, for like policing versus journalism, versus criminal action, right? And this is like a part of the game where it shows all that stuff off, because especially like Sumio is operating as two of those things at once, right? And investigating the crimes that he is committing, right? There's just like some interesting things there. Yeah, go ahead.
I did worry when I finished the episode and I didn't understand what happened. I was like, is this a self-contained one? No, it's very important to the overall story. Probably the most important one. Outside of the bookend episodes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm glad I'm able to appreciate it in hindsight.
Yes, yeah.
I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think it's also a good, it's a good mystery, I think, when you can enjoy it the second time. Hopefully.
Yeah.
So.
And it's also a testament to like the way this game is invested in unconventional storytelling.
Yeah.
It is just not afraid to be like, I'm going to throw a story at you that you don't understand, and it'll be recontextualized later. Mm-hmm. So when you see stuff like the person with the mouth sewn shut, you're just like, that's a striking image. And then you learn the backstory about those three guys. And it's like, okay, now I understand that. But in the moment, it's just like a striking image that just happened,
Yeah, for sure. Okay, shall we move on to number 4?
Yeah. Hey, a Serial Experiments Lane episode happened in this game.
Yeah, yep. Yes. Have you thought about people having sex after they meet online?
So goofy.
Have you thought about the fact that people can hook up on the internet?
That was the most this game is written by men scene probably in this game.
Well, it's also so funny because they're like playing chicken and be like, I'm gonna kill you. No, I'm gonna kill you. Yes. And then they show up and have sex. Nobody knows what we're talking about.
God.
But there's kind of two parallel things going on in this. One is about the idol, whose name I've forgotten and is also not on the sheet, because she's not really an important character, which is maybe kind of indicative of how this stuff rolls. And like, internet celebrity, there's like a hidden live cam that's in her apartment, that gets like leaked onto the internet. And then when that's discovered, she kills herself. She dies by suicide. And then the other thing is like, you're trying to find the missing person who like maybe got involved in some internet stuff. And there's also all these online worshipers or adherents of Kamui who have like a fan site and forums and stuff. And then there's this guy, Old Man is his username, and he's like being a jerk and like making his own Kamui fan site and blowing up the old one. And like Neutral and him have a sparring match, and then they have sex, and then they become like trying to become gods of the new world, very like Lane style stuff, and they cause like a massive power outage that does get resolved, but it caused a lot of problems. And then that's basically it. It's basically like a lot of like, what about the internet? What is the internet doing to us? What's going on with the internet? And yeah, I found this one kind of trite, to be honest. I think it's hard to tell stories about the internet, turns out.
I thought it was fine.
Yeah.
Mostly aesthetically, I guess.
Oh yeah, it's kind of, I like the like, this one has like the Matrix green background where there's like people typing and stuff, which is neat.
Yeah.
And I think it does also get right the like chat room tenor.
Yes.
Especially when like some jerk shows up and the whole chat room like turns against that person and like, Like that stuff is, I think, really well rendered.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I'm just not sort of interested in any of the conclusions it comes to. And also I'm not, I mean, I guess it makes sense. They are cops. I don't know if I'm like uncomfortable with it exactly, but there's like one of the higher ups in the heinous crimes unit is like, yeah, I like bought the key to watch this live stream and I like sold another one to this guy. And then he's like, oh, I have the recordings now. So I'm like selling them. And it's just and like it is meant to be. It's like really awful. It's like, this is a person, you know, that like who died because of this, and then is still beginning to be like profited off of, and then like will be sort of forgotten because she's like this thing in the moment, you know, more than she is like a person that people actually loved and cared for and valued, right? Like, and that's, you know, that makes sense, and that's all real to some degree. You know, I mean, I can't name like an instance like this that occurred, right? But like obviously, you know, young women on the internet generally can be hyper visible and surveilled, and there's all sorts of ways that can like break bad for people, right? You know,
yeah.
But I just don't think there's like a further insight than that, right?
Yeah.
I like the part where you go meet the girl in the like office where the club used to meet or whatever, and she's like, yeah, everyone else went to the dimension where you could divide prime numbers. I just think that's like a weird and cool thing to say to somebody, you know. Yeah, do you have any more thoughts on this? I'm also trying to remember the Morishima side. There's a lot of him being like, I don't understand this generation. And then the gay guy at the bar is like...
Doesn't he, like, get a virus or something?
He does. His computer gets deleted, but he has a backup on his laptop, so it, like, works out okay. But he has to get it fixed, yeah. I love the part where he's like, I don't understand this generation. And then the, like, bartender's like, well, actually, most people who use the internet are in their 30s. It's such a, like... funny moment. That bartender's a homie.
I love the song that plays.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we haven't even talked about the music yet, which is like the most banging elevator music possible.
The thing I'll say about the music is that I enjoyed it when I was playing it, and then I noticed that I was getting Danganronpa songs in my head.
Sure.
And then I looked up the Silvercase OST, and it's literally the same composer.
It's the same guy? Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So,
well, there you go.
Shared vibe.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Sometimes you got a shtick, and you just do that.
You know? Yeah.
Okay, I think we can talk about...
I did get fucking sick of the laptop music by the time this game was over.
Da 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 da. Yeah, it's not the... I love the like, I don't know, that arpeggiated one. That's like the... I don't even... Anyway. Do 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 do. That's
you know, the amount of times I pulled up the settings menu just to hear that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I love the format on the main menu where you like flip between episodes and it's like a record and it just plays a track.
Yeah, it plays a remix of
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
This game is good to look at and hear.
It's great to engage with.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Where is it? Who did the remixes? I'm pretty sure Akira Yamaoka did those remixes. Which is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that every episode it plays like the credit sequence and the logo for the game engine every time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I
then,
think
it's great. I love that.
I really think well, I guess I don't know. I guess this is the thing is that because I was about to say video games should be more like TV. And I do think this, but I do think we literally have multiple prestige television shows of video games right now, you know? And I don't mean that. I mean Star Trek The Next Generation. You know? Yeah. That's what I mean. I don't mean let's do the 8-episode limited series format, you know? Yeah. Because I just think that routine, that sense of like returning to a thing, right? It's so key in video games and you can build so much out of it. And also video games can do really cool things with ensembles. There's also sort of a similar effect where like when you watch a TV show, you spend enough time with people that you start to care about them, even if the show is bad, right? Mm-hmm. And I think like video games do not leverage that as often as they could or should, right? Outside of like RPGs, and even then, I don't know. I'm not necessarily. I'm about to have a hot take. I don't. Well, it's not that hot, I guess. I'm not necessarily against games where you can customize your party and you can choose like what members of your party are in it or not in it. I think they should do it less. I think it's sometimes good when you have, and good in a gameplay sense too, where you have like characters who fulfill specific roles put in weird combinations, and then you have to like strategically deal with that, and also like forcing characters to be together. I also like the thing in Final Fantasy X where you can just hot swap people. That's cool. Yeah, that's good. And then I like the thing where it's like, hey, the ensemble's together at all times. You know, like I think that's nice.
What does it have to do with the silver case?
I don't know. It's like TV. Silver case is like TV, and okay. I like the ways that is like TV.
Got it.
But it's not really related.
I forgot how we got. No, I just forgot how we got there.
Yeah, it's all good. I really was just like, here's my. But yeah, I just think it's cool. I think it's cool to make a police procedural game. I think you could do that. You know.
Yeah. One thing I want to shout out is, you guys like, you as you're investigating, you like find this website and you go back to the police station, you pull it up, and it just is like a big screen that says formalism.
Yes. Oh, that goes, yeah. Mm-hmm. I think I took a screenshot of that.
Very funny.
I should, yeah. Maybe I'll post in the. I need to go through them, but maybe I'll post in the Safe Room Discord all the screenshots I took. Well, yeah, I think we can also, there's technically like 2 epilogue chapters per route. So like one for the placebo side or the Murashima side, one for the Akira side, and then like a new, I think the Murashima one is new anyway. And then like a new wrap it up epilogue as well. So that I don't remember, even though I played it like 4 hours ago, 5 hours. No, I mean like actually like 8 hours ago at this point. Oh my God. Sorry, I'm just reading the Wikipedia page. Silvercase was developed for the PlayStation with a 5-person team who created the basic core of the game. During the last 6 months of development, the team expanded to include 10 people. That's wild.
I'm interested in seeing what the PlayStation version like looks like.
Yeah, Is there a fan translation? I feel like there has to be.
I don't know.
But there might not be. We could look it up. Maybe we'll do it in between if we ever do 25th Ward. We can report back. Although actually we'll do Killer 7 before that if we do another Suda game.
Yeah. There's a side-by-side video.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, these are some PS1 graphics.
Hell yeah. Okay, thank you. It's straight up. Oh, okay, so it plays through just the first episode.
Yeah.
This game start street is sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was also thinking about that it's in 4:3, as opposed to... Oh, yeah. They actually do. I think the HD ones do a good job of capturing it, though. It doesn't feel like super out of step with it. Just looking at it.
Apparently there's not a fan translation.
Damn.
I think somebody was like working on it and then they remastered it, so...
Yeah.
But apparently, I think knowing about people trying to translate Flowers in the Rain, because of the way the katakana is like coded, it'll be hard to translate it.
Right. I mean, that makes sense.
I assume that's why. But anyway, man, PS1 games, huh?
Yeah, it looks cool. Oh, also, we didn't talk about this when we talked about episode 0, which we sort of more touched on. But like the stuff with like your two guys that are with you and like the one guy who just is like a death wish. Like that stuff is really interesting and harrowing to me. Like just the like you're doing a really dangerous job and then one of you like kind of doesn't care about dying. Right?
Yeah.
And like that sensation is just like rough and interesting. I also thought that decoding stuff would be like a part of the video game.
Nah.
Besides, it's literally just that first part.
Uh-huh.
And some of the art you get to see more of it in the HD version because it's not as constricted. Okay. Yeah. Well, I think we can talk about this last stuff in kind of one big batch. But yeah, what do you think of the last section of this game and sort of wrapping everything up?
I didn't really like it.
Yeah. I think the emotional core of this is strong. The sense of discovering this really awful thing that happened to you. And a lot of people like you. And a lot of people that you know, right? Like other people that you met.
Yeah.
And that you can't even remember it. And that you're like going through all this stuff and seeing all the evidence of it and discovering like the way, because there's sort of this long section where you're like wandering the old caves and stuff. And not caves, but like complexes, right? And I think some of that stuff like emotionally works for me. And I like the way it draws in the parallels between Akira and Morishima. But there's just so much of this last part of the game is like someone telling you something and then 5 minutes later someone contradicting that. And then 5 minutes later someone telling you that actually the first thing was true. And it's this game already is exposition heavy. And it really becomes just like an engine of people telling each other things like at the end of the game. And it is hard for me to kind of feel invested in the outcomes of that, right?
Oh, you didn't care about the guys on the bench arguing?
I mean, it's fine. They're guys in coats looking at each other and being like, what can I do?
Yeah.
Like, this is the cursed world we're lived in. Like, that's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard to care about in terms of like, I don't even know. I barely remember who this guy is,
Yeah.
And so I think I'm with you. I sort of wonder like if on replay and having like a stronger sense of like what the overall stakes of things are, and also maybe not playing it on a big deadline. Because I was dumb as I usually am and played the game late. But yeah, I think I feel similarly. Although I don't think it's a game killer by any means. I think it's still aesthetically... Oh, I dropped my pen. I think it's still aesthetically strong. I think there's like interesting stuff going on in it. There's interesting stuff to think about.
If I knew that you could run, I would like it more.
I was thinking about that because
know.
the part where you're climbing through all the buildings is brutal.
It takes a long ass time. But even before that, where you go through all the Silent Hill hallways.
Well, see, those you can't run in.
Fuck that. Come on.
You can go up the towers. You can, hit the button and run around, but you can't. Those are just. I like it when it's like a long hallway and then you get a bunch of dialogue as you're going down it. That's cool.
That I don't mind.
Yeah, but
it's the part where you go down the hallway and then you get exposition and then you go down another hallway.
I know.
I hate that.
And then, all the cops that you were hanging out with the last, 10 hours are killing each other now, and you don't really know why.
That part's cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
The part where you like go on the different floors and like you just run into all your guys and then they each die. It's great. I love that.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. I'm thinking this kind of obscures that it's kind of one anime plot. I didn't really think about that, but it is.
It is one anime plot, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why that's why I don't care.
It's just not. It's not all of mankind. It's like 3,000 guys that are getting freed from the confines of fate. But yeah, that is what happens at the end of the video game.
Yeah.
Which maybe, I don't know, maybe 25th World will be interesting because maybe it does something different. I couldn't say. But yeah, I think, I don't know, I don't think I have anything more to say about the last few chapters.
Yeah. Did you, I did think that environmental puzzle was funny, at least. Where you're like looking out the window and you have to like match the numbers.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thought it was funny that the game decided to throw you a puzzle.
Yeah. At the end. Well, there's so few in this game. I expected there to be more. That there's like, especially since there's a like auto solve function at the beginning of the game. We already talked about this, but yeah, I was just like, oh yeah, there's gonna be puzzles all throughout this thing. And you're going to do a lot of code stuff, and it's just not. It just doesn't. It's barely in it. Which is fine.
It's great. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that thing with that, though, where it's like the circle of graves for the original 10 who died in the silver case. Which is like the original Kamui case. And that there's like the circles in the background of that whole episode, right? But that's like a recurring image. Neat. Yeah. I don't know if I have more to say about this moment. And yeah, I'm interested in whatever the next game is cooking. And I think that this is like... I'm also just interested in visual novel as a form. Because I just don't have that much experience with it, and so this was more out of ignorance than anything else. But I think I just thought I understood like what a visual novel is formally. And I'm not saying all visual novels are like it's interesting to look at a silver case, but it's just like you can do a lot with the format, yeah, right. And there's a lot of aesthetic variance, like a potential aesthetic variance you can have in this kind of thing. And I just think it's cool, and I just wish more video games felt kind of plugged into that stuff. But I guess this is also the thing is like there's a reason there's no puzzles in the video game, and part of it is you have a team of 5 people and you're doing all this other aesthetic stuff, you're doing film stuff or whatever, right? Yeah.
I played like 10 minutes of 25th Ward. And the menu system is interesting.
Cool.
It is. Yeah, it's doing some different stuff. No, it came out a little bit later.
Yeah, wasn't it? Is it after?
2006?
Yeah,
something like that.
That's a lot. That's like 7 years, and that's post Killer 7 and Flower, Sun, and Rain and stuff.
2005. Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's cool. And I think it's, I just, I like feeling like I'm playing something where, I don't know, where it's just novel, I guess. And maybe that's like a shallow thing, but it is just cool to have like consistently interesting and new things to sort of engage with and look at and think about, Whereas like a lot of video games, like I've had this experience where when I used to review things more, where I'd start, especially like indie games, I'd start a game and be like, oh, I know what this is. Like I played an hour of it and I know exactly what this is and I know what it's going to be like. And the silver case, you cannot say that about. You don't know what this is cooking. And maybe you can predict like plot stuff, but I think especially aesthetically, it's like there's new stuff is going to happen regularly. And so it is worth like engaging with the whole thing and seeing that through. And I think sometimes that's like some video games, you can get the same pleasure out of playing something for 10 hours as you can playing it for 40, right? And that's not always bad, That's not always a bad thing. And also it's just sometimes a question of like how much you want to get into something, right? Like fighting games can be this way, right? Where it's like if you're in a, local or whatever and you're playing a game and it's like cool and you're with a bunch of other people who are also playing it and you put a lot of time into it because it's like a social activity. It's also like a skill that you're getting better at versus like, oh, I bought a multiplayer game and I played it over a couple weekends with friends and that's it, right? Those are both like valid ways to interface with something like that, right? So it's not always bad, but I do think that sometimes it is like video games expect you to do the same thing over and over again. And Silvercase is like interested in giving you new things to think about and do within sort of a broad, a procedural episodic frame, which is nice.
Yeah. I think I'm mainly interested in 25th Ward because the idea of I don't know, there's kind of the game ends with like is it Morikawa who is able to see ghosts and shit?
And Morishima, right? Or can Morikawa see ghosts? I don't know. Anyway, keep going.
The image doesn't look like any of the characters in this game is also the thing.
Right.
Like, who is this guy with glasses? I don't know.
Oh, I think it is Morishima. Let me look at the summary. in this yes, it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's new art. Like it's new drawn for, in 2016 or whatever. Right? Like it is. Yeah.
And so I don't know. I don't know anything about the 25th Ward. I just want like the more surreal elements to be the starting point, I guess.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, I do think
maybe I'm just hoisting myself, and 25th Ward will be actually more normal. Probably not, though.
Probably not. I would assume that the fellow who went on to make like No More Heroes is not going to go more normal. I don't know though.
I just me.
Yeah.
I like surreal horror that's also sometimes a procedural.
Yeah, so true. There's one thing we know about you. Yeah. No, but I agree. And I think that is something that is kind of I think some of the science fictional stuff is cool in this game. Like, don't get me wrong. But I do think it is kind of a bummer that the game starts so weird and then where everything kind of gets explained. And a lot of the game is just explaining that here's why this thing is like actually just science instead of, mystical. And there's still this stuff. There's still stuff that is legitimately strange and sort of unexplainable, right? Like it's not there, but nevertheless. All right. Well, shall we wrap it up? We didn't solicit questions this time, right? I don't think we did.
No, that's okay.
It's fine. Yeah. I don't know. I would like to get a little bit better about just having like a more locked schedule in my head. But and then maybe be like, okay, like a week before we record, we send it or whatever, that we have like a system. but I am really bad at doing that because I keep being like, okay, I'm going to start the silver case. Like I put it in my planner. I'll be like, I'm going to start the silver case this day. And then I don't fucking do it. So, you know. So, yeah. It turns out being mentally ill can affect things in your life. I also love this display. Oh, yeah, because it's the game engine. It's like types of film window, graphic window, movie window, 3D window, face window, text window, menu window. This is what you want to see when you're booting a game up, that it's got a face window, you know, and a movie window. Yeah. All right. Well, should we do plugs?
Sure.
Yeah. All right. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go.
Okay. We're hosted on the Unable Macking Network. You can find our Discord link at spookygame.club. We have a Twitter at Podcast Safe Room. You can sub to our Patreon at patreon.com/thesaferoom. We do a bunch of bonus podcasts. Rose and I do a podcast about movies called Found Footage. We just watched Men from 2022 and did a very good episode, I think, about a pretty bad movie. And partially it is good because we are losing our minds thinking through all the probably unintended, but nevertheless horrifying implications of that film. And we also do, Rose does a podcast with Amr about playing video games on handheld devices. We're video gaming in the Republic of Gamers. Okay. It's good. It's a good show. I like it. And then I do a friend with I do a show with my friend Soph Blair about movies and theory. We are reading Against Interpretation by Susan Sontag last time. Last time we talked about George Bataille's eroticism and the Twilight franchise. That was good. That's it, I think, in terms of safe room stuff. Rose, where can people find you online?
You can find me at BlueSrose430.
And you can find me at Grace Machine at various places, or Grace_Machine, or Grace-Machine, or something like that. Also, our email is questions@spookygame.club. My God. Okay. So if you want to email us a question about the silver case and we'll answer it in a future episode, we'll do that.
What are we doing next time?
We're playing Fatal Frame Mask of the Lunar Eclipse, I believe.
What if we play Killer 7, though?
What if we played Killer 7, though? I mean, I'm down. I own it. I have it on Steam.
It's $5 on Steam.
Right now?
Right now. Golden Week.
Right now? Right, Golden.
What if we play Killer 7?
Sure, I'm down to play Killer 7.
Sick.
Will you email our little AM chat about game clubs or message them, tell them that we're doing Killer 7 instead?
I'll do that right now.
Okay, sounds good. All right, well, thanks so much for listening. We'll catch y'all later. Bye.
Here's some sick music.